As a recent bride of August 2024, I got you. Wedding planning can feel entirely overwhelming. I swear I was so anxious during that year of wedding planning, especially at the beginning. There is so much information out there, from TikTok to Instagram to random YouTube videos like this one to blog posts. I mean, literally, there is an overload of information out there. And watching things on TikTok like hashtag wedding talk can really make you doubt everything that you thought you wanted or things you've already planned and booked. My hope is that this video can serve as a resource for you in the times that you're looking at your wedding and you're trying to figure out how you can get the best of both worlds, how to have this beautiful, wonderful, magical wedding, which is sure to happen, while also being more eco-conscious and eco-friendly in your everyday items and vendors that you're selecting, as well as some of the advice that I would have known when going into wedding planning, because there's just so much. First of all, planning a sustainable wedding is not just a trend. It's a great way to signify the start of starting your life together as a married couple. The first thing that I wish I would have known going into this is that I consider myself to be a pretty calm, pretty laid back person. I'm very go with the flow. The things I have opinions on, I definitely care about. But the things that I don't have opinions on, I literally could care less. Unfortunately, when you're wedding planning, you're kind of forced to care about everything. And I find that stupid and extremely stressful. Like, I remember that there were questions that I was asked that I was like, I really don't care. But because I was asked, I had to put the time and energy into caring what my answer was. And then come the day of the wedding, it wasn't even done. So why did you have to ask me and stress me out in the first place? So prepare yourself for that. Another thing that I wish I would have known going into it is still kind of on the topic of not really caring, is that I was not somebody who wanted like a big floofy puffy wedding dress. I just felt like the whole process of wedding dress shopping was entirely commercialized, and I don't know, I didn't like it. My original thought was that I could buy a dress that either I could cut it shorter so I could wear it as like a cocktail dress moving forward, or a dress that I could potentially like alter and maybe even dye it so I could still wear the dress later. Now, I had the most heinous experience when it came to wedding dress shopping. I would never wish that experience on anyone. I'm not really a shopper to begin with. So if you are into like going shopping and trying on clothes, and this is something that is like totally up your alley, then you can just like skip ahead for the next minute while I talk about this wedding dress experience that I had. But I probably went to, man, I don't know. I definitely tried on over like 60 wedding dresses. All of them were just too much. They were too much. They like, I just didn't like them. None of them felt like me. Finally, I found one that I was like, okay, great. You know, it fits, you know, kind of the things that I wanted out of a wedding dress. I can crop it and potentially dye it at a later date. It was a strapless dress, and I have a pretty considerable chest size in comparison to how wedding dresses are made to fit on people. And so I went to an alterations place and I brought the dress in, and they were like, oh, you can't wear this dress because it will never fit your body the way it's intended to. So they were recommending that I was going to have to make the strapless dress into a dress with straps on it. And that was like super disappointing. I think I paid like $900 for that dress. And I was like, this is awful. Like, why would the person selling me the dress not tell me that I couldn't wear it in the first place? So then I panicked. I bought a $90 dress off of some random website online, and that one fit okay, but again, due to my chest size, I had to get it altered so that way it like wasn't as like there wasn't as much cleavage showing. So I go to an alterations lady to basically put lace there so it felt a little bit more tasteful. And as that was happening, the alterations lady completely butchered the dress to where it's completely unwearable now. She used like 2 different shades of white on it. I was sent to go to a fabric store to find the lace myself because the alterations lady said she didn't have time before leaving on a family holiday. And that was honestly the most intense panic I've ever had in my life. Okay. I was like, I don't even care this much about a wedding dress. Like, why am I having to like go through all this? Anyways, I did contact the boutique owner, who was the person who recommended that alterations person. She did right the wrong. She also took back the original wedding dress, and I did buy another wedding dress, and she was able to send me to another alterations lady who did a great job great job on my third wedding dress that I bought. And that dress ended up being like, I mean, again, way more than I ever would have spent on a wedding dress. And I got it finished probably a month out from the wedding. So I think I probably spent about 7 months panicking over a wedding dress that I didn't even care about. Okay. I didn't even care about the dress I was wearing. I just wanted a dress, and preferably white. Okay. That's all I wanted out of a dress. I'm not sure why it was so complicated. I would say do your due diligence on buying a wedding dress, that if you have to get it altered, that you can actually do the alterations that you want to be done to that dress, and that it will fit well on your body type. That's also something that I wish I knew going into wedding dress shopping, in that it's really complicated. And there are a lot of dresses out there that look all the same, but also completely different. Silly, if you ask me. All right, moving on how to plan a sustainable wedding. Number one is to reuse, repurpose, and rock your decor. That was so cheesy. I don't know why I said it like that. The wedding industry can be a super wasteful industry. There's definitely a throwaway culture when it comes to it. And I think in so many ways, it's because things like plastic cups and paper plates and plastic utensils are often cheaper than just renting real utensils and real plates and real cups from a rental agency. And I understand that not all of us have the budget to be able to go for the reusable plates and cups and things, but we all do have the budget to not buy the intended to throw away drink stirrers that are personalized. Or personally, I think napkins are kind of a waste. Personalized napkins that you use and then throw away as well. I don't understand the point of those, but I think if you're going to spend money on something, spend it on something that can be reused in the future. Spend it on a live painter who can make a painting for you of your weddings. Spend it on party favors that people can actually use after the wedding and won't get left on the table. Spend it on personalized thank you cards for thanking your guests for coming to your wedding. Spend it on vintage vases that you found yourself as the vases on your centerpieces for your tables. There are so many other things that we can spend our money on that actually have value and can be reused and repurposed afterwards than some of the silly things that maybe look cool for a photo, but ultimately get thrown away at the end of the day. Number two is vendors. Obviously, depending on where you're getting married, there are going to be a ton of different vendors you can choose from photographers to florists to caterers. I remember in the wedding planning process, every time we met with somebody, before we booked them, I asked them kind of their thoughts on planning a sustainable wedding and what are some of the things that they can do to make it more sustainable. And that was a really big factor in who we ended up choosing. So our florist, for example, was able to source 98% of our flowers from local places. So everywhere within, I think, a 2-hour drive for our flowers. She also was able to have vases that she was able to reuse and that she has on hand. She was also super cool, and she planted potted herbs because it was one of the visions that I had for our wedding. She planted them in her house and then brought them to the wedding. She was like, yeah, you guys can keep them and give them to your guests, or I can bring them back and donate them to like a local place around town. So she ended up donating them to a local place. It wasn't realistic for us to bring those home. Otherwise, I definitely would. That would be cute. On the note of looking for vendors who also share your values and being a little bit more sustainable, sometimes easier said than done, but I think venue location is a big point in this as well. Some venues we looked at and we asked them about sustainability and they really didn't have anything, but there were venues that we did look at that did have sustainable values. So we looked at a ski lodge in Taos actually that was a B Corp. So they compost all of their food afterwards. Anything that's leftovers ends up getting composted. And I thought that was super cool. And I think our venue that we ended up selecting as well, we got married at the Four Seasons in Santa Fe. They also composted anything back of house as well. Plus they had reusable silverware, plates, and utensils that was all included within the price as well. So several things within that venue that made us like it even more. And maybe you love a venue and they don't really have many sustainable initiatives. That's fine. I think there are other ways that you can kind of incorporate sustainability if you really fall in love with a venue that doesn't compost, for example. Number three is keep it local. Everything for your wedding, whether it is local to where you live or where you grew up, or if it's a destination wedding, keeping your items that you're sourcing local is honestly key because you're reducing the emissions from getting it from point A to point B. So going back to our florist, it was so important for me to find local flowers. Having something that was native and local and could support the small businesses in the Santa Fe area was so important to me. It is so easy to I don't know, go to Trader Joe's and get flowers that were shipped from, I think Ecuador is like the main place that some of these places like grocery stores get flowers. While they are really affordable and they are beautiful, they just like come wrapped in plastic. And I don't know, like I was, just talking to a florist. I was like, how can I better support the community that we're getting married in? We're already spending so much money to have this wedding in the first place. Let's also give back to the local economy. So keep it local, whether it is the flowers or the food or vendors, local vendors that are in that town rather than traveling from out of town. You could even source decorations from thrift stores around town or from local artists or farmers markets around as well. Number 4 is to embrace minimalism. When we look at Pinterest or some of these like viral weddings that we see on like TikTok or Instagram, for example, it feels like they have so much stuff and everything is just so maximalist and so extravagant that you're like, oh, I need to have that as well. Let me just stop you right there, because there is so much beauty in stripping things back to be raw, romantic, and minimal. Love is truly the core of why you're getting married. It's not about all the little extra, little fancy, floofy stuff. Some of keeping it minimal does come to what venue you're selecting. Choosing a venue that has naturally beautiful scenery is definitely helpful because you have less space to fill with decorations because it's already naturally beautiful as it comes. At the end of the day, your guests are there to celebrate your love, not to collect your little trinkets and party favors. Number 5 is to add personal touches with more DIY projects. You can kind of do this with a lot of different things. I've seen people DIY like welcome boards or seating charts with little personalized moments on there. For us, what we did for our personalized project is we wrote handwritten thank you cards for each of our guests that was their like nameplates on like where they were sitting at their table. I knew that we were having a destination wedding. I knew it was not an easy place for many people to get to. I just wanted to do something that was personal and within my power that would be a true like moment to actually thank these people for coming to our wedding. It took so long to write all of those thank you cards, and also was the most rewarding. We had a lot of people mention the cards afterwards and just say how grateful that they were to get those and that they were really thoughtful. Again, these DIY personal touches can kind of come from whatever you choose to be, whether it is a personalized note card that says thank you or crafting homemade candles for guests to take away and bring back home. Last but not least, when it comes to planning a sustainable wedding, any time that you're looking for a certain decoration to decorate your wedding, think about what would be the sustainable alternative. So we talked about plastic drink stirrers for your cups earlier in this video. Well, those are plastic. So what would be an easier sustainable swap? How about a edible drink topper instead that can be composted afterwards? Or for flowers, for example, maybe you don't have the budget to find flowers that are more locally sourced, or you can't find a florist who's willing to source local flowers, then you can try potted plants, potted flowers, potted ferns for your aisles down the wedding aisle. Maybe looking for a more reusable option as well. Maybe instead of doing sparklers for your grand exit, you instead do a local flower or petal or something that can be composted afterwards as well and is easier to clean up. There are so many things that if you just take a second to go one step further than what the initial thing that you thought about doing for your wedding, if you go one step further, you can find the more sustainable alternative to it that gives just the same effect and is just as beautiful. It is definitely possible to celebrate, love, and have a beautiful, magical wedding while also practicing sustainability. There are not a lot of articles out there. I did do a blog post kind of going in depth and showing a lot of photos from our wedding. So I will link the blog post below if you'd like to check that out. Most of the articles I said were just like silly articles. I think a lot of times people, when it comes to like planning a more eco-friendly wedding, they're like, don't have one, elope, have a micro wedding. And to be honest, that is just not going to work for so many people. So I think it's kind of silly to say that. I think there are other ways that we can have these beautiful weddings and also have less impact on the planet and environment. So that is what I have on advice I wish I knew going into wedding planning and how you can plan a sustainable wedding. If you are currently wedding planning and you're looking for a replacement, drop what you want your replacement to be in the comments and I will come up with my alternative, my eco alternative to it, the best I can. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can like and subscribe if you want to see more of my face. We chat all things mind, body, and planet on this corner of the internet, so I hope you guys stick around. I will see you in the next video. Bye!